Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new exciting stories from life. My best friend became my worst enemy on my wedding day. Here's how it unfolded. If you told me 2 months ago that I'd be posting my life's most humiliating moment on Reddit, I'd have laughed in your face. But here I am, typing this at 2 a.m., stomach in knots, because I honestly don't know how to move forward or who to trust anymore. And maybe, just maybe, sharing it with strangers will help me make sense of what happened, or at least feel less alone. Let's start with the basics. I'm 29M, and for almost my whole life, my best friend has been Matt, 29M. We grew up 2 houses apart, knew each other since before we could ride bikes. Every stupid childhood memory, scraped knees, late-night video games, our first heartbreaks, he was right there beside me. My parents called him their second son. His mom knitted me a scarf every Christmas. Honestly, he felt more like a brother than my real brother, who moved out young and never looked back. Matt's that guy everyone gravitates to, funny, outgoing, always the loudest laugh in the room. Growing up, he was the golden boy, and I was just happy to be his wingman. We had our fights, of course, but nothing serious, never anything that stuck. He stood by me when my dad got sick, helped me survive college, even cheered me on when I started dating the woman who'd become my wife, Jess, 28F. And if I'm being completely honest, having Matt as my best man felt just as important to me as marrying Jess. I wanted the world to see us up there, lifelong friends, starting this new chapter together. We'd joked about our wedding speeches for years, planned out the bachelor party, even made a Spotify playlist for the big day. Matt always said he'd never let anyone ruin my wedding, and I believed him. Now, looking back, I wish I'd paid more attention, because even as I was celebrating, there were cracks under the surface, moments that should have set off alarms, things Matt said or did that I brushed off as stress, or nerves, or just him being Matt. But hindsight is always 20/20ths. At the time, I couldn't imagine anything, anyone, coming between us, least of all on the most important day of my life. If you ever find yourself replaying memories, you start noticing every little thing you brushed off. In the weeks before my wedding, I saw flashes of something strange in Matt, stuff I never really connected, not until later. First, it was small stuff. Like, when we picked out tuxedos, Matt argued way too much about details he'd never cared about before. You sure you want that tie? Looks a little much, don't you think? It wasn't just the tie. It was my haircut, the playlist, the guest list. Suddenly, Matt had an opinion about everything, and half the time it sounded more like criticism than advice. I laughed it off. Pre-wedding jitters, I thought. He just wants the day to be perfect. Then there were the texts he left unanswered. We'd always joked about planning my bachelor party since high school, but when it actually came time, Matt dragged his feet. One night, I caught him zoning out at the bar, staring at his phone. When I asked if everything was cool, he snapped. Why wouldn't it be? You're the one getting married. All eyes on you, right? I remember laughing, trying to make light of it, but it stuck in my chest. Jess noticed too. Is Matt okay? He seems off, she asked one night, curling up next to me. I shrugged, told her not to worry. He just doesn't like change. But the weirdest moment was at the rehearsal dinner. My mom had put together this sweet slideshow of old photos. Matt and me covered in mud as kids, pulling stupid faces at graduation. Most people laughed, but Matt just sat there, jaw clenched, eyes a million miles away. Afterward, he disappeared for almost an hour. I found him outside, smoking, a habit he'd supposedly quit. You good? I asked. He gave me a look I couldn't read. I'm always good, man. I told myself he'd snap out of it. He was my best friend, my brother. He wouldn't let me down. Now I realize those were the warning signs. The cracks before the earthquake. The morning of my wedding, I woke up buzzing, nervous, excited, barely able to eat breakfast. Matt showed up early, looking sharp but pale, eyes bloodshot like he hadn't slept. Rough night, I joked, trying to ease the tension. He just forced a grin. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The hours flew by in a blur. Pictures, handshakes, speeches. Matt did his best man duties with practiced charm, making everyone laugh, but every so often I caught him staring at Jess and me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. I brushed it off. Nerves, right? Then came the ceremony. I remembered Jess walking down the aisle, radiant. My hands shook, but all I saw was her smile. Until, behind me, Matt coughed. Not a normal cough, but a loud, pointed noise. I glanced back, and he shot me a look that was almost pleading. But I turned away, focusing on Jess. We exchanged vows, rings, the whole world blurring into joy. The officiant declared us husband and wife. Applause erupted, and I caught a glimpse of Matt in the crowd, expressionless, arms folded. At the reception, Matt started drinking hard. His speech was coming up, and I could see him getting restless, tapping his glass, jaw clenched. When his turn finally came, he stood up, swaying slightly, microphone in hand. He started out joking, but then his tone shifted. You know, some people don't deserve what they get. Some people don't realize what they're leaving behind. The laughter faded. My heart hammered. I hope you're really happy, Jess. And you too, buddy. I really do. Then he looked right at Jess. Too long. The room went dead quiet. I felt something break, right then, as everyone stared. After Matt's speech, a stunned silence clung to the room. Someone tried to start a polite round of applause, but it fizzled. Jess gripped my hand so tight my knuckles went white. I forced a smile, making some awkward joke about classic Matt, but inside, I was unraveling. People started whispering, family, friends, co-workers. My mom pulled me aside, concern written all over her face. Is everything all right with Matt? I lied through my teeth. He's just had too much to drink. But Jess's eyes searched mine, and I could see she wasn't convinced. He looked right at me, like he wanted to say something else. Is there something you're not telling me? How could I answer when I didn't even understand it myself? Matt avoided me the rest of the night, slouched at the bar, knocking back whiskey. My brother tried to lighten the mood with a toast, but the energy never recovered. Our first dance felt like performing in a fishbowl. Everyone's eyes not on us, but on Matt. When I finally caught up with him outside, he wouldn't look at me. What the hell was that? I asked, voice barely steady. He scoffed, not meeting my gaze. Just telling the truth. Enjoy your fairy tale, man. I wanted to shout at him, demand he explain, but all that came out was a pathetic, you're ruining everything. He laughed, bitter and hollow. It was already ruined. You just didn't notice. I went back inside, shattered. The rest of the night was a blur. The photos, the cake, all stained by that one speech. I felt humiliated in front of everyone who mattered. My lifelong best friend had turned into a stranger, right when I needed him most. The days after the wedding felt unreal, like I was floating above my own life. Jess tried to focus on our little mini-moon, but I could see the tension in her eyes. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach twisted, half expecting a message from Matt, an apology, an explanation, anything. But silence. I kept replaying his speech in my head, picking apart every word. What did he mean? Some people don't deserve what they get. Was he talking about Jess, about me, or something else entirely? I'd known Matt my whole life. He was loyal, but he was also stubborn, never letting things go until he got his say. Now, he was saying nothing. By the third day, I couldn't take it anymore. I texted him, we need to talk. I deserve to know what's going on. No response. Jess noticed my anxiety. Are you really going to let him ruin this for us? I wanted to say no, but I hated the feeling of unfinished business. I need answers, Jess. I can't just pretend nothing happened. I started digging. It was petty, maybe, but I went through old messages, social media posts, trying to spot anything I'd missed. I called some of our mutual friends from high school. Most just muttered about Matt acting weird lately, or said they hadn't seen him in weeks. One, our old friend Alyssa, was more blunt. You really don't know, do you? He was obsessed, even before you and Jess got together. I felt my heart lurch. Obsessed with what? She hesitated. With Jess. He's been in love with her for years. Everyone knew, except you. It hit me like a freight train. Suddenly, so many moments made sense. The awkward glances, the jokes that didn't land, the way Matt always showed up when Jess and I were together. Was that why he'd been so distant? Why he sabotaged the wedding? Jess saw my face when I hung up. What is it? I told her everything. She just shook her head, eyes wet. I never saw him that way. I never let him on. Now I wasn't just angry. I felt betrayed, blindsided. How had I not seen it? Was our whole friendship a lie? I needed to hear it from Matt himself. I couldn't let it go. After Alyssa's revelation, it was like every memory I'd ever had with Matt was suddenly tinged with suspicion. I thought about the late-night talks, his weird mood swings whenever Jess was around, all the times he'd tried to steer our conversations away from her. Had I really been that blind? On the fourth night after the wedding, I drove to Matt's apartment. I didn't call ahead, just showed up, heart pounding, rehearsing what I'd say. His car was there, lights on inside. I knocked, and after a long pause, he opened the door. He looked rough, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, like he hadn't slept since that night. He didn't invite me in, just leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "So, you're here." "Yeah," I said, trying to steady my voice. "I need to know. Why did you do it, Matt? Was it all because of Jess?" His jaw clenched, and for a moment I saw something flicker in his eyes. Anger, guilt, maybe both. He let out a bitter laugh. "You always had everything. The good family, the perfect job, Jess. I tried to be happy for you. God knows I tried. But watching you marry her, knowing I never had a chance, killed me." I was speechless. I wanted to yell, to hit him, but all I felt was this cold sadness settling in my bones. "So you ruined my wedding? You humiliated us in front of everyone." He looked down, hands trembling. "I didn't plan to. I got drunk. I thought maybe if I said something, she'd see me differently. Or you'd, I don't know, understand." We stood there in silence, the weight of everything between us. "I never meant to hurt you, but I couldn't watch you live the life I wanted anymore," he finally whispered. I realized then, Matt's betrayal wasn't just about Jess. It was about all the years he'd swallowed his feelings, all the jealousy and pain he'd hidden from me, until it exploded. I left without another word. Driving home, I felt numb, like I'd lost a brother, a friend, and my own naivety all in one night. The days that followed felt like I was trudging through wet cement. My phone buzzed with texts from family and friends, half of them checking if I was okay, the other half still gossiping about the speech. Jess tried to keep things normal, but we both knew something fundamental had cracked. The hardest part was the silence in our apartment. Instead of celebrating our first weeks as newlyweds, Jess and I moved around each other quietly, like we were afraid to set off an alarm. I'd catch her staring out the window, or sitting on the bed with her phone in her hands, and I'd want to comfort her, but I didn't even know how to start. One night, after I couldn't sleep for the third time in a row, Jess found me sitting in the dark living room. She sat beside me, pulling her knees to her chest. "Do you think we'll ever be able to move past this?" she asked, voice small. I shrugged, exhausted. "I don't know. I keep thinking about all the years with Matt. Was it ever real? Or was he just waiting to stab me in the back?" Jess's eyes filled with tears. "I feel so stupid. I never saw it coming. Now I wonder what people are saying, about me, about us." We held each other in the quiet, both feeling exposed and raw. I realized how much I'd let Matt get between us, even after the wedding. "I'm sorry," I whispered, "for letting this ruin our start. For not seeing the signs." Jess squeezed my hand. "It's not your fault. I just want us to be okay." But okay felt impossibly far away. I stopped hearing from Matt after our confrontation. No texts, no calls, nothing on social media. A few mutual friends reached out, sharing their own shock and disappointment. Some blamed me, some blamed Matt, but most just seemed sad, like we'd all lost something good and innocent. At work, I caught whispers behind my back. Even my mom suggested therapy, which felt like an admission that things might never be the same. I didn't have the energy to argue. I spent hours questioning everything. Could I have stopped this? Did I ignore too much, trust too blindly? How do you heal when the person you trusted most is the one who wounded you deepest? The weeks after my world imploded, I realized closure wasn't something you stumbled into. It's a choice you have to make every single day. Some mornings, I woke up seething, picturing all the things I should have shouted at Matt. Other days, the sadness felt endless, a low ache that wouldn't let go. Jess and I decided to see a therapist together. At first, I hated the idea. Talking to a stranger about my best friend's betrayal felt humiliating. But those sessions forced us to be honest, to actually say what we were scared to say at home. Jess admitted she felt violated, like her own sense of safety had been broken. I told her how lost I felt, how Matt's actions made me question my own judgment, my ability to protect the people I love. One session, the therapist said something that stuck with me. "Sometimes, holding on to anger feels safer than letting go. But forgiveness isn't about forgetting, it's about freeing yourself." I didn't want to forgive Matt, not yet. But I stopped stalking his social media, stopped fantasizing about payback. I started thinking about what I needed, not what he deserved. Slowly, Jess and I found small ways to rebuild trust. Cooking dinner together, sharing awkward laughs about wedding disaster stories online, dreaming up new plans that didn't include old friends. We decided to take a real honeymoon. Just the two of us. No phone, no past. I heard from Alyssa that Matt moved back with his parents for a while. He didn't try to reach out, and I realized I was okay with that. Some wounds don't heal with apologies. They heal with distance and time. Every now and then, the pain flared up again. At family dinners, someone would mention the wedding, and I'd feel that old shame creep back. But it faded faster, replaced by gratitude for what I still had. Jess, a future, a chance to start over. Looking back now, it's hard to believe how quickly everything changed. One day, I thought I had the perfect friendship, a solid foundation for my new marriage, a life where loyalty was a given. In a single moment, one drunken speech, so much of that shattered. But as the months rolled on, I started seeing the cracks that had always been there. Therapy helped, but so did late-night talks with Jess. We began to share more openly, not just about Matt, but about everything. The hard stuff, the little resentments we'd never voiced, the dreams we'd buried under the chaos of wedding planning. For the first time, our marriage felt real, not like some glossy story for social media. There was pain, but there was also a weird kind of freedom in knowing the truth. I started reading stories like mine online, realizing I wasn't alone. Turns out, a lot of people have been betrayed by someone close, sometimes for love, sometimes for envy, sometimes just because people are messy and human. That realization softened something in me. It didn't excuse what Matt did, but it made it less personal, somehow. I stopped feeling cursed and started feeling normal. Wounded, but normal. I also found myself rethinking what friendship really means. I'd always assumed history was enough, that years together guaranteed loyalty. Now, I see that trust is active, not automatic. You can love someone and still need boundaries. You can forgive and still choose not to let someone back into your life. Jess and I built new boundaries. We made peace with the fact that some people, no matter how long you know them, might never be safe for your heart. And that's okay. If anything, I'm more careful now, but I'm also more grateful for honesty, for real connection, for the chance to rebuild after disaster. Sometimes you have to lose the life you thought you wanted to discover the one you actually need. If you're still reading, maybe you're where I was, replaying every detail, wishing you could go back and catch the signs, desperate to understand why someone you loved could turn on you. I wish I had a magic answer. The truth is, there's no clean ending. No perfect moment where everything makes sense. No switch you can flip to make the pain disappear. But there are things I've learned that I want to share, in case it helps even one person out there. First, you're not stupid for trusting someone. I beat myself up for months, thinking I was naive, wondering how I could have missed the warnings with Matt. But trust isn't a weakness. It's what makes friendship possible. It's what makes us human. If you gave someone your trust and they broke it, that's on them, not you. Second, it's okay to grieve. I felt ridiculous mourning a friendship, but honestly, it hurt as much as any breakup. Let yourself feel it. Cry, rage, talk to people who get it. Don't let anyone tell you to just move on. Your pain is valid. Third, set your own boundaries. Whether it's blocking them on social, deleting photos, or deciding not to take the bait if they try to reach out. It's your right to protect your peace. Forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about letting go of the hope that the past could be different. And finally, healing takes time, but it's possible. Jess and I are stronger for what we went through. We built something real from the ashes. I still think about Matt sometimes, about the good times, about what might have been. But now it's just a chapter in my story, not the whole thing. I hope that if you're dealing with betrayal, you know you're not alone. You're not broken, and you get to decide what comes next. So here's my advice. Trust again, but do it with eyes open. Love your people hard, but don't lose yourself in the process. And if you find yourself picking up the pieces, know that sometimes those pieces build something better than you ever imagined. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Sometimes strangers are exactly who you need.